Hey everybody. You know, a week ago, Megabeatman, Matt, did a retro review on issue 94 of Sonic the Hedgehog. Now, of course, it's a tradition of his to do a review during the April Fool's weekend, or the April Fool's time frame of an issue that was released, but it's hard to believe that this issue even exists. And 94 falls into that category. And honestly, I don't blame Matt, Megabeatman, for feeling this way about issue 94. You see, long story short, this all stemmed from the fact that 30 issues prior, there was a subplot that was introduced in the comic. Basically, certain events and natural disasters were happening all over, and no one had an explanation of what was going on. But at the same time these events and these disasters were occurring, certain satellites were being activated and coming together to form some kind of space, or station, if you will, a space station. And Sonic, Sally, and them decide, we got to figure out what's going on, who's behind this. So they decide to take a trip into space. And they find out that the person behind it is Robotnik, or so they think. Because they find out it's actually Robo-Robotnik, an alternate version of Robotnik, who decides he's come to Mobius Prime, to the Mobius Prime, to basically set things straight, or set things right with Sonic. And that basically, because he defeated his Sonic, and Sonic defeated Robotnik Prime, that it only seems right to see who is the better of the two, between Robo-Robotnik and Sonic. So basically what happens is the space station is destroyed, the satellites are destroyed, seemingly Robo-Robotnik along with them, but we find out that Robo-Robotnik has actually downloaded himself into the Eggman body. Yeah, because at this time, Robo-Robotnik decides to reclaim, or claim, in his case for the first time, Mobotropolis decides to claim, or, he is Robotnik, reclaim Mobotropolis as Robotropolis once again. Anyway, not to make anything too long, basically everybody has to retreat back to Knothole. The roboticized citizens, including Sonic's Uncle Chuck, are basically reprogrammed again to obey Robo-Robotnik, or in this case Eggman, as people start referring to him too. And basically several events take place that get us to 94. First of all, Sonic, he does get knighted by King Nigel now. I think a few issues after. And then after that they decide, okay, we got to get all the help we can get against this version of Robotnik, this Robo-Robotnik, this Eggman. So they decide to go on an ambassador's trip, if you will, to Station Square to make peace with the Overlanders and get them to understand, hey, this Eggman, this Robo-Robotnik is a threat to us all. We need your help, and in turn, you're going to need our help, and in turn, we'll need your help. So they do that, and that lasts from about, I think, issue 78, or 79, yeah, issue 78 to about issue 86. The story arc, which is, basically between those issues, which also has a 48-page special as part of it, a 48-page super special as part of it. These issues are basically known as the Sonic Adventure story arc. Yeah, it's the Sonic Adventure adaptation. So basically you have from 78 to 85, including, like I say, 48-page super special, right smack dab in the middle of it, that are all part of the Sonic Adventure story arc. So after that, they come back King Max decides he's going to lead the charge against Robotropolis to try to reclaim it again. He ends up getting mortally injured to the point that his son, King Elizus, has to step in as acting king. Yeah, Elizus has to step in as acting king. And basically, Elizus is not ready for this. He has not been prepared for this because, side note here, Elizus had been living on Angel Island, or the floating island, with his comatose mother at the time, being non-existent to anybody around, even Sally, who's his sister. So basically, being inexperienced, he needs help. He realizes, okay, I need help with making decisions. And who decides to step up to the plate and help him as an advisor? Geoffrey St. John. And Geoffrey St. John decides to take advantage of the situation to have Elizus make decisions that put Sonic in a bad light, put the Freedom Fighters in a bad light, if not more so, disband the Freedom Fighters, take away Sonic's knighthood, and thus puts him and his team up front and center. Basically puts him in favor of puts him in better favor of the Acorn family. The royal family, that is. Because not only does it put him in a better light in their eye, because in his opinion, as a character, not only does it put Geoffrey in a better light, in a better presentation with the royal family, but in my opinion, and I think a lot of longtime readers that have read this, including Matt himself, Megabeatman, would agree it was also a way for Geoffrey to get closer to Sally again. Why? Because this leads into the issue 94. Basically, like Megabeatman reviewed, issue 94 is where Sonic and the Freedom Fighters go to school. They are now disbanded. They are no longer able to leave Knothole. They are basically stuck there as regular citizens and thus regular teenagers. And thus, one of the things they have to do to get readjusted to life, or to a normal life, if you will, is go to school. And that's how that comes about. But one thing that proves that Geoffrey is the one that encouraged King Elizus to make this ruling, or Elizus to make this ruling as acting king, is one, when Sonic wants to see Sally, Geoffrey just asks him, hey, you have an appointment? He says, no. Well, make one. She is royalty. So, and he shuts the doors on him. It's like, well, I have to see it. It's, if you're Sonic, you're thinking, well, wait a minute. I need to make an appointment now to see my best friend, since someone who's been my best friend since we were kids? That doesn't make sense. And then to top that off, you have Sally being tutored or taught, homeschooled, if you will, at the castle, separate from everybody else. So basically, in my opinion, and I'm pretty sure longtime readers would agree, that the decision to have the Freedom Fighters, to have the characters go to school and do it in this way, was basically, from a storyline standpoint and a character standpoint, Geoffrey's way of making himself look better in the eyes of the royal family, and hopefully look better in the eyes of Sally. Thus, let's not forget, even though this was kind of hinted at and started and kind of halted throughout, from basically issue 18, the Princess Sally miniseries comics, all the way halted, I should say, in the Brave New World Super Special, Geoffrey has always had a thing for Sally. He's always had a thing for her. And he's always had feelings for her. And basically, in my opinion, and I'm sure so many longtime readers will agree, that's why he advised Elizus to make these decisions. Because he wanted to better himself in the eyes of the royal family, and probably become a probably be chosen as the suitor, as the one that they would choose to say, Sally, this is the one you're going to get engaged to. This is the one you're going to marry. So that's pretty much why the decision, from a character and storyline standpoint, the decision was made for Sally to be taught differently or separate from everybody else. Now, how this plays into stories later on is, thankfully, the whole school scenario is kind of dropped after a few issues. Jeffrey and his team, in an attempt to prove themselves, prove themselves to be just as good as the freedom fighters. They end up being poisoned, getting some kind of neural poison, infected into them or planted inside of them somehow by Eggman. And it's through them getting all this rehab and having to take these 2 baths, if you will, to drain the poison out of them, this neuro poison out of them. It's only through those situations, those events, that take place several issues later. And again, well before Ian Flynn comes on board, that Jeffrey St. John realizes he made a mistake. He let his ego get the best of him, and he should have just let things be. Now I know it's kind of hard to believe that something like issue 94 would kind of result in something like that, but pretty much, in my opinion, that's how I see it. That's how I've seen it for quite some time. I mean, think about it. If Jeffrey St. John advising the king to do all this and keep Sally away from Sonic and all that, if he wasn't doing it for his own reasons, then why the heck was he doing it? If he wasn't doing it to make himself look better in the royal family's eyes, so that when King Max gets better and says, so that when the day King Max gets better and becomes, reclaims, basically, returns to the throne, if you will. In my opinion, the way the character was written in this story, in this time frame, was basically he wanted to be looked at as the next suitor. Basically, basically, the way he was written was he felt, hey, I'm giving all this good advice. Once the king gets better and, reclaims the throne again, he's going to be like, yes, Jeffrey St. John, you did such a good job. I choose you to be the suitor to my daughter. You will marry her right away. Or, you'll marry her soon. You will be her husband. Da, 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 da. And it's like, and if you're a reader, that may not come out that way. It may not come out in the way I described, but basically, that is how Jeffrey's character was portrayed. Now, again, I think it was Ken Penders that came up with the redemption part, so I give Ken Penders that. But it's like, but I get where Megabeatman Matt is coming from, though. Like, why was this whole school sub-arc put into place in the why was it brought into existence in the first place? It's like there was no need to do it. There was no need to have to have the characters be stripped of the power, be stripped of their titles, be stripped of their duties, or anything like that. There was no need for it. There was no need whatsoever, but yet it happened. But yet it happened, and in the eyes of a lot of fans, it was unnecessary. It was unnecessary. It's like, okay, you can accept maybe temporarily they're removed from active duty. They can no longer, enter the field of battle unless given direct order, or unless they're given a direct order to do so. Okay, you can accept that. But, and you can also accept, okay, maybe Sonic lost his knighthood. All right, fine. But it's like, why? But, with all that, with accepting all of that, you say to yourself, why couldn't, you ask yourself, why couldn't they come up with something better than back to school? And I think when you look at it from Carl Bowler's perspective, is he wanted things to be kind of a hybrid of reality and fantasy. See, I think Carl Bowler's, when he came up with the school idea, I think he envisioned what a lot of us, and this is the honest truth, I'm pretty sure a lot of people will admit to this, what a lot of us thought it would look like if Sonic and his friends went to school. Because we've always seen them on the field of battle. We're always seeing them walking around Mobotropolis or Not Whole Kingdom and not doing anything besides helping, eating, hanging out, helping people, putting things together, which is all great and stuff, but we've never seen them have an education. It's like we've never seen them go to school. It's like, okay, they know all this stuff. Why do they have, where do they get the knowledge for it? And we're never given an answer. We're never really given an answer. And I think that's why Carl Bowlers came up with the idea. He said, hey, we never really were given an idea of how they, learn all this stuff, or how they have the knowledge for certain things. Why not just showcase that with them going to school, with them learning a little bit more than they thought? And I think that's why the whole school scenario was brought into play. It was also brought into play as well to bide time to issue 100, which wasn't that much of an anniversary issue, but still it was something. But it was still, just there to kill time. It was just still there to kill time. Now, they did revisit the whole school concept many issues later with Tails and Amy finding out that even though she had aged herself with the Ring of Acorns into her Sonic Adventure design or redesign, or Sonic Adventure look, that she was still mentally and physically, that she was still she was still basically mentally the same age as Tails, and thus she had to end up in the same class as Tails. So that was the only other time they ever revisited it. Now, I don't know if Ian Flynn or whoever writes for the comic or is going to write for the comic is going to revisit it again whenever the comic gets back on its feet. Hopefully not, but when I look at 94 and I look at all the events that led to it and all the events that took place after it, I look at it basically as, hey, it was there, it happened, and be thankful it didn't last too long. And I think it was only done because of curiosity's sake. Like I said, there was a lot of fans, let's admit it, let's all admit, we were always curious, okay, the freedom fighters know certain things, how'd they get the education to know that? They need to have gone to school. And thus, I think Carl Bowlers decided, hey, curiosity got me as a cat. I'm going to make it a reality, and pretty much that's what he did. And it was also filler. It was just a filler subplot that really didn't go anywhere, because I think, in a sense, even the creative staff were like, Carl, this has got to go. This ain't working. So, yeah, thankfully it didn't last too long. But really, when I look at 94, like I said, I just look at everything that led up to it, and I look at everything that came after it, and I'm like, yeah, it was there. What are you gonna do? Hopefully we won't get something like that again, but who knows? But like I said, you just look at it like, it was there. Not many people will agree with it. Not many people will like it, but it was there. So that's all I'm going to say, folks, on my response. I know it went for about almost 20 minutes, so I do apologize for that. But yeah, that's just my response to Megabeatman's retro review of issue 94. Let me know what you guys think down below. Comment if you like, and I'll talk to you all later.